I never could accept just the conventional medical way of doing things in the United States. And I continued learning about nutrition way beyond what I had learned in graduate school in my program in physiology. And with all due respect to my professors, it wasn't their thing. Natural
Hmm.
health and wellness wasn't really their thing. So
Right.
I actually learned a lot more of this stuff really through my own interests and then meeting other people along my life's journey that introduced me to certain key things. That this was really, for me, my own exploration into my own health and well-being, and looking at all the literature about nutrition and how a plant-based diet, and I mean, again, I know it's arguable. We've got all these people out there preaching keto and carnivore and all this meat-based approach, which I'm not into arguments. I really have no time for drama or arguing. It's not my thing. But in my opinion, in my own review of the literature, I think it's a very strong argument to make about eating a predominantly whole food plant-based diet, even if you don't go all the way, but
Yeah.
just relying on most of your food that way. That's my opinion of my review of the research, and even some of my own research that we've published looking at those differences. So I think, as you said in the closing comment of your introduction to me, my mission, besides my dietary supplement company and the work we're doing there, my mission is still, as much as one man can, to try to help people be healthy. And that's not just about the brain. It's really, from head to toe. It's
Yeah.
our health. Our health is our wealth. And if you're not taking care of your health, I don't care how much money you have, how many cars you have, what kind of clothes you wear, your jewelry, your home, anything else tangible. If you're not taking care of this thing, what
Hmm.
all those other things matter?
Yeah. Yeah. You can't enjoy them if you're sick.
You hear the word sugar and you immediately think, oh my gosh, that's bad, 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 bad. But there are two very interesting characteristics, at least, but I think the two most important characteristics about sugars are: one, their source,
Hmm.
and two, their biochemical structure.
Yeah.
So polysaccharide is just simply a complex sugar. Now, the work that my colleagues and I have done have focused primarily on polysaccharides from two particular sources. One is aloe vera and one is rice bran. And I would argue that those two particular plants are two of the most amazing plants that Mother Nature, God, the universe, the source, whatever you want to refer to it, based on your belief, has bestowed upon human beings to utilize for their health and well-being. So anytime I hear someone say, "Oh, sugar's bad for you," it really grinds me, because they're making that statement out of ignorance,
Yeah.
and they're just throwing the baby out with the bathwater. It's just, a blanket statement that comes from ignorance and not knowing that you have to be very careful. I mean, me as a scientist, as a writer, I'm somebody who's very particular and careful about the language. So I really have a hard time when I hear, these ongoing messages in the media talking about sugar as being bad for humans. It's absolutely a ridiculous statement. And I would say, Julie, at this point, the highlight of my academic career, which I'm no longer full-time in academics as of the last 6.5 years, was the clinical trial that we conducted in people with moderate to severe Alzheimer's disease, which, as you well know, is just such a terrible, tragic disease. It's now the sixth leading killer of Americans. Gosh, we can't even come to a scientific consensus on what causes the disease, let alone from a conventional perspective, knowing how to help these people. And what a horrible fate for anyone to have. But we looked at our polysaccharide based, our allopolymannose based formula, and we put people with this disease, and these were moderate to severe severity people. So these were not mild cognitive impairment or newly diagnosed. They had to be diagnosed for at least 1 year, and they were at the sickest stage. And we didn't care about, their medication or their diet or their activity or anything else. We literally just introduced this formula into their diet based on what my colleague, Dr. Reg McDaniel, who had really gotten me into this whole polysaccharide area about almost 20 years ago, had been doing some work with people with Parkinson's and MS and dementia, and had some really exciting results, but hadn't at that point conducted any type of clinical trial. And he wasn't in an academic setting at that point anyway, but he had given a lecture, and this family, this husband and wife, heard him give this lecture, and they ended up agreeing to give Dr. McDaniel some funding if he would agree to do a study in Alzheimer's. So that was how this all came about anyway. It wasn't even because, the Alzheimer's Association or NIH or somebody like that gave us money. It was actually through the generosity of this one family. But what we ended up discovering was nothing short of, I would just say again, it has been to this point the pinnacle of my research career. So after 12 months, and we looked at cognitive function according to the ADAS-Cog and a few other things, but as I'm sure you know, the ADAS-Cog is widely considered to be the gold standard of assessing cognition, especially among dementia studies. It's been published in, I don't know, probably several thousand articles at this point, at least, but we did the neurocognitive testing at baseline, 3, 6, 9, and 12 months. And then we drew blood at baseline and 12 months. Unfortunately, our budget was limited. We were not able to draw blood at the 3, 6, and 9 months. But anyway, we showed clinically and statistically significant improvement in cognitive function at 9 and 12 months. She's in her mid-70s, had Parkinson's for, I believe, she was diagnosed 11, 12 years ago. And just in a few months of being on our product, she's had just a phenomenal response. I mean, her color, even the first time I saw her on Zoom, we're doing the same thing like we're doing here. We're checking in every couple of months. And the first time I met Valerie, her face was very just kind of pallor looking, no color, no real energy. She was cognitively with it, but just, very low energy, didn't really move, very static. And then a couple of months later, she's glowing, she's got color in her face. She's starting to move more. She also has rheumatoid arthritis. In addition to the Parkinson's, for years, she could not do her hand like this. And then she sent her son a picture of doing this for the first time in years.
Oh, wow.
No, I would go back to what we said earlier. And I truly believe that you need, especially in the face of any type of serious health challenge, be it, something related to the brain or really anything else, that you really need a concentrated amount of these polysaccharides from aloe vera and rice bran that you need to get in a supplement. Certainly eating rice bran with your meal in brown rice, for example, obviously is, better than eating white rice. But I don't believe that you're going to get a therapeutic benefit from eating just brown rice alone. And certainly, again, nobody's going to eat aloe vera. I don't know about you, we've got some aloe vera growing in the backyard, but we don't go out and, cut a leaf off and, suck down the gel or anything.
Sunburn, but
yeah, right, exactly. We'll, rub it on a cut or something, but we're not, sucking it down, from the gel. So, no, I really, with all seriousness, I do believe that you need it in a concentrated form in a dietary supplement to have a therapeutic benefit. And even for prevention, if I may, I'll just kind of extend the point a little bit to say that, we think of prevention a lot and we wonder, well, how does this work for prevention? Well, for example, in my family's case, so we have a 3.5-year-old, and when she turned 6 months, we started introducing solid foods into her diet. I started giving her the polysaccharides then at 6 months. This girl now is 3.5 years old, healthy as a horse, or sharp as a tack. Like a brain, like you can't believe. Talk about a brain. This child, not to brag too much about her because she's mine, but just an incredible brain. My mother has been on it for close to 15 years, this formula. I've been on it for over 10 years. My wife's been on it a couple of years. She was a little bit more stubborn to come around on it. But I mention all of our family for 2 reasons. One, because I would never sell anything that I would not take myself and also give to my own family. And 2, again, prevention to me is just as important as treatment or rehabilitation. You want to prevent these things from happening in the first place. And so from literally cradle to grave, and all of the lifespan in between, you've got, my daughter and my mother, and then me in the middle, you've got all of us taking this stuff. And so to me, prevention is just as important as, well, I'm just going to take my chances, roll the dice. And then if I end up with type 2 diabetes or heart disease or cancer or dementia or whatever, then I'll have somebody, help me figure it out. No, I want to prevent all that stuff in the first place. So